So bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing this'll be the day that I die. I'd be totally fine with that. This'll be the day that I die.
So, Dylan Brekke, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Hey there, kid. Oh, it's my pleasure to be doing this. Thank you so much for letting me do this with you.
So the moment that changed the course of your life happened a couple of years ago. It was when you got up on stage with Keith Urban and sang 487 verses of American Pie. I'd been following another guy named Rob Joyce that also got on stage with Keith Urban, and he actually played guitar, and it changed his life as well. So tell me about how you became a fan of Keith Urban, especially in California, where I'm not sure that country music is the most popular.
Yeah, well, that event most definitely changed my life. Singing as much as I could of American Pie with the legendary Keith Urban, it was just a beautiful blessing by God. I became a fan of Keith because my mom always encouraged me to play and perform like him one day and just get good with singing and playing guitar like him. Plus, it helps because she has a little crush on him, so that always helps. As far as country music goes, we have a really big fan base out here in California. We have great festivals like Stagecoach and Coastal Country Jam in Huntington Beach. But the thing with California is that we have like all these other genres that are a little bit more popular on the West Coast. We have like hip hop, rap, and rock and all that stuff. But country music still stands strong out here in Cali.
So how did you end up at such a small venue like the Sayers Club in LA to see Keith Urban? I mean, how many people actually were there? And also, were you alone?
Yeah, Kit. So that day was just unbelievably hectic and crazy. I had just gotten off of work. I still do work at Chick-fil-A in my hometown city that I was born and raised in, Long Beach, California, in Southern Cali. And yeah, I just got off my long 6-hour shift. It was like 5 p.m. I was on my couch just cuddling with my dog, scrolling through Instagram, and the first thing that pops up on my feed is tonight, Sayers Club, Los Angeles, 18 years or older, totally free, come on out. And it was a post by none other than Keith Urban. And I thought immediately, wow, I have to go to that show. I will never be able to get an experience like that. Like if I'm lucky if I just see Keith. It was one of those things where I dropped everything. I didn't have any second guesses at all. So drove out in LA traffic, like 9 to 5 traffic, got to the venue a couple minutes early, went totally by myself. The Sayers Club, total dive bar. The place was packed. It was very close to being sold out, considering the fact that the night before, Keith was going to play Stagecoach in front of like tens of thousands of people. He chose to do a pop-up LA show to promote his new album, Graffiti You, right before that tour. So it was just absolutely surreal. The place, like I said, was packed. I'd say it fit around like 150, 200 people. So for a Keith Urban show, it was extremely intimate. But just to be able to see him play on stage, it was so much fun.
So you're there in the second row. How did you get Keith's attention, and was this pre-planned or staged?
So I got to the second row from like the 8th row. I had a beautiful time just trying to mosey my way on up there. It wasn't staged, wasn't planned. The reason why I chose to get Keith's attention because I thought it'd be really fun to have that, to film it and just be like, oh, I got Keith Urban's attention. No big deal. Like, he said hi to me. And the reason, how I was able to do it was just to say like, hey, you were the reason I picked up a guitar, Keith. And he turns around and says, I'm the reason you picked up a guitar, and the video's online, and the rest is history.
So why was American Pie the song that you would choose?
The reason why I chose American Pie for that song to sing with Keith was because I ended up talking with him before he brought me on stage, and the first thing that blurted out of my mouth to try to impress Keith was just to say, to prove to him that I took music seriously, was to tell him that I had opened up for Don McLean at a venue called the Coach House in San Juan Capistrano, which is like Newport Beach Hills in California. If you're from California, you know where it's at. Beautiful venue. Had a 45-minute slot, direct support to open up for Don McLean in front of about 500 people. And that was a really big deal because prior to that, I had, been trying to pay my dues at coffee shops just locally down the street or just somewhere in Long Beach. And it's tough. Sometimes you play a coffee shop where, you get a good crowd of, if you're lucky, a dozen people. But sometimes if you're lucky, you only get people like, your mom or dad or just someone working on homework on their laptop or something. So to open up for Don McLean just on that night alone, which was back in fall of 2016, that was absolutely surreal. Don McLean's a great guy, and the fact that I got to honor that song with Keith was really, really fun. So it all just came back full circle when he brought me up on stage. The first thing I asked him was, do you know American Pie? After talking with him about opening up for Don McLean. And funny thing is that Keith had said on that stage, he said, it's amazing about what Don McLean said about his song American Pie. He said, what does it really mean? And Don said, you never have to work another day in your life. So it was really, really great.
So that's really cool that you just go after what you want. I mean, that's the best way to do it. I've seen you with different celebrities. You've obviously performed opening for Don McLean. So how easy is it to get to these A-listers, especially there in California?
That's a really interesting question for sure. It has not been easy to access these A-listers. When it comes to Keith Urban, he can only be in one place at one time. So when he played California, the very next night, he played Stagecoach in Indio, which is by Palm Springs. And the night I played with him was, that was in Los Angeles. So when you just try to find what they're doing on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, basically their social media. It's really cool how people like Keith Urban, they let their fans know where they're going to be at that specific time and day. So you kind of get a vibe, technically last minute, but either way, you get notice. And someone like me, I just go for gold.
I also saw where you sang with Hunter Hayes.
Wanna make you feel wanted. Wanna call you mine. Wanna hold your hand forever and never let you forget, baby.
Was that also pre-planned, something that you wanted to do? And was that before or after getting on stage with Keith Urban?
Yeah, so a whole nother experience right there for sure. That was a couple months after the Keith Urban experience, getting to sing with Hunter. That was, so Keith was Stagecoach weekend of 2018 last year. That was April, late April. And Hunter Hayes was August 1st, 2018. So OC Fair, Costa Mesa, California. Beautiful, amazing night for sure.
So this being after being on stage with Keith Urban, were you more prepared, less intimidated? What happened there?
That's a great question, Kit. I would say I was a little bit more prepared to sing with Hunter. As far as whether it was planned, staged, or spontaneous, it was definitely planned on my part. The way that all went down was that Hunter knew nothing about that before that show even happened, but I had actually gone to that show with a sign in the second row, ironically enough, because with Keith that was second row too. But This was a much bigger show. Hunter Hayes was at the Orange County Fair at the Pacific Amphitheater, and that place holds 8,000 people. Once again, nearly sold out show. Tons of screaming girls, tons of families just hanging out, watching a great, talented country star, Hunter Hayes. And, here I was with a sign that just said, "My dream is to sing with you." And, the whole show goes by. And then finally in the encore, he points at me and brings me up stage. And I kind of freeze for a minute. So I would say that it was planned on my part. Hunter knew nothing about it, but when he did see that sign towards, his last song before the encore, which was "Wanted," his hit single, he came out during the encore, pointed at me and just said, "Hey, come on up." And I was nervous because I thought, oh, that was the song I wanted to sing with him, ironically enough. And I told him I wanted to sing that song, "Wanted." And he said, "We could do it again." And he was so kind, so generous, so giving. We did the whole song again, and we did what I would think a pretty dang good duet. And it was a beautiful moment, beautiful blessing from God. And I had a blast. The fact that Hunter was able to spontaneously catch on to that was quite incredible, to say the least. That he just must have talked to his bandmates right before going back on stage for the encore. And yeah, it just kind of happened right then and there. And from what I could see, I think he was having a good time for sure.
So what's the rest of the story? So after you sing on stage with Keith Urban, how did that change your life? What's different now?
Yeah, so what had happened before all that was that I wasn't having, the best year of my life. I was really stressed out with school, having self-doubts and trying to really think about, what's my purpose, and, just living as this college student and trying to pursue music. And then when I had that moment with Keith singing American Pie, that was where my whole world changed. The way I looked at things and people and events just changed my life. My social media, it grew immensely. Like just in that one weekend of me playing with Keith, I gained 800 new Instagram followers, and on Twitter, got a couple dozen retweets and a couple hundred likes and on that video. And it was just it was surreal. Like it still leaves me speechless to this day. I can't believe that was the outpouring love and support from all these people had occurred. And my mom was super happy too. I had gotten her actually an autograph right after I was finished singing American Pie with Keith. I just threw out my Sharpie from my pocket that I thought, in case I can get an autograph from Keith, because I had no idea that I was going to be singing with him. That wasn't obviously planned, but I had the pen. I thought, just sign my shirt. It's the only thing that I got that you could sign. So he signed on my shirt, plain white tee. I said, "Hi, Mom, Keith Urban." And we still have the shirt. It's hanging in the closet, and I haven't worn it since because it is a phenomenal thing to have, to treasure, just, an autograph from Keith Urban on your t-shirt. You would never wash it. So absolutely beautiful. And as far as the shows that I still plan to keep playing, I actually do have a backup band, and it's just so much fun. We play like coffee shops, bars, restaurants. We play locally around Long Beach, and we just have a blast. We love when family, friends, and supporters come down, and we look forward to meeting new supporters along down the road in the future, for sure.
So I've also seen online that you're an actor. Tell me a little bit more about that. And do you have any future projects?
Yeah, that's another thing about me, kid. I do love to act. It's one of the other things I love to do alongside with music. I am on IMDb, Internet Movie Database. I really don't have that many credits, but I did do this short film with Dylan Sprouse, who was he played Zach on Sweet Life of Zach and Cody and Sweet Life on Deck, and just a phenomenal guy. And Val Kilmer's son, Jack Kilmer's in the short film. It's called Carte Blanche, which was a short film. It's like 10, 15 minutes long. It got submitted to Sundance and Mammoth Mountain Film Festival, and yeah, I had like one line and I got paid $60, but it was a good gig. It got paid for gas, and it should be online sooner or later. I know that they premiered it as of in February of this year, so sooner or later it should be able to be viewed anywhere online. So definitely go check out Carte Blanche and look it up on IMDb.
Dylan, thanks so much for taking time out to talk with me today. We'll have to do this again soon. Why don't you take us out with the rest of American Pie?
You ready? So bye, bye, Miss America.